The ongoing firestorm provoked by U.S. President Donald Trump, who hinted this past week about taking military action against terrorists killing Christians in Nigeria, has deepened already existing fault lines among Nigerians, most of it tribal and religious in nature. Most reactions have been welcoming to Mr. Trump's sentiments, while on the other side, there are Nigerians who say the nation's sovereignty should stand non-negotiable, no matter the circumstance. But there's a third school of thought who are saying that the only political elite are worried because of what they stand to lose in the event of any foreign interference. For how to build a national consensus towards confronting a possible external aggression, we're now being joined by Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Good afternoon, Dr. Amadi. Many thanks for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Of course. Now, Nigeria faces internal insecurity, whether you call it banditry, terrorism, or kidnapping. Should the focus be on building consensus on domestic threats as opposed to worrying about external aggression?
Well, I think it can, like they say, it can still chew gum and walk and find their way home. So it can do both. I mean, I think that perhaps we are also exaggerating Mr. Trump's message. Clearly, the message is twofold. First, a claim by him of genocide in Nigeria, and also an appeal to the Nigerian government to do something about terrorists, killing Christians and now Muslims, or risk the U.S. doing it. So I think there's this notion of war against Nigeria. I don't think that's in the U.S. foreign policy objective or interest. So, but yes, killing terrorists would mean coming to Nigeria airspace to either do drone strike or all kinds of other forms of strikes, maybe with or without Nigerian permission. So primarily, this is not about fighting Nigeria. And Nigeria should be concerned as to who invades territorial integrity and why. But I think the greatest challenge is actually domestic here, whether it's domestic terrorists, domestic division in terms of being polarized. And again, you can see that surface quickly. If you go to Mr. Trump's handle, too many Nigerians hailing him. And of course, there are Nigerians who are saying, don't do this, who are angry with him, abusing him. Someone say, oh, we're ready, you're going to die in Nigeria. That's unnecessary, hysteria. The key issue is threefold. One, how do we develop state capacity to effectively deal with terror in our territory? You see, Nigeria's sovereignty, or every country's sovereignty, rests on three things: effectiveness, legitimacy, and patriotism arising from good communication. An ineffective state, a state that cannot even protect its citizens, can't protect its border, a state whose public officials are fifth columnists working with terror groups or supporting them. I mean, we've had somebody that's highly established as Danjuma castigating the Nigerian army. We've seen in the days of Jonathan, some high-placed cabinet officials doubting the commitment of fellow cabinet members, seeing them as those who are giving intel to terrorists. We've seen also some army commanders complain about fellow combatants turning against them on behalf of terrorists. So we need to begin to now restructure the country to develop that level of effectiveness arises from when a state is beyond its sectarian interests. So the Nigerian state, autonomous, not controlled, not at the behest of ethnic, religious interests. And that's what sociologists and political scientists talk about, strong and weak states. It's not just about states that have arms, but states that are uniform, cohesive, and where the national interest is such that it's not the interest of a sect or a part of the whole. I think that's a bigger challenge for this country. And the second one, of course, is we need to have a government that also understands how to speak to its citizens, how to build up what we call, Amadi said once talk about argumentative India, a country that's argumentative, that can actually argue and change the beliefs of these citizens, that can change the citizens, reorient them towards positivity. You don't do that with British state, with policing, with DSS, with not dealing with a crisis effectively, with not being a rule of law state, with giving some people a pass to hurt others, with distributing largesse unfairly. So there's a work to be done here to create the level of legitimacy that now supports claim of sovereignty. And thirdly, the government putting forward its best feet, looking at its best materials to put on public diplomacy. Public diplomacy is not just about ambassadors, it's also about public spokespersons, the quality of communication coming from those who represent government. And we've seen, apart from disarray and cacophony of teams, narratives that are, contradicting each other, we've also seen weakness at the level of, having controlled narrative and pushing official positions that are dignified, realistic, and intelligible in this context.
Indeed, Dr. Amadi, of course, you've highlighted the issue of sovereignty and, of course, some of its shortcomings within the Nigerian perspective. But wouldn't it have been easier to invite the U.S. On joint military exercises to rid Nigeria of Islamic insurgency once and for all? Wouldn't that be a win-win for both countries, you think?
Absolutely. I would actually think that maybe the response from the president is going to be twofold. So first, Mr. Trump, actually, this is beyond Christian-Muslim. This is also a big crisis we're in, and we really would like the U.S. to help us deal with these, criminals. So that would have been, or these terrorists, that's the right thing to do, because essentially, the message, if you're sitting back in Washington and watching Nigerian messaging, it's like they're making a case for Boko Haram, or the terrorists, whoever they are, or the alleged Fulani bandits killing people in Middle Belt. It's like the state is saying, leave our terrorists, leave our terrorists. No, that's not the point. The point should have been that, look, either we claim that we have the capacity, and we see that capacity in a matter of days, or we say, you know what, this is why we have international cooperation. This is why we have, bilateral and multilateral, agreements. So the U.S. can actually come and help us, apart from say, send us arms, send us money, because what we have seen actually from those who are at the front line is that oftentimes these weapons get to the hand of the wrong people and gets back to the Boko Haram and gets back to the terrorists who used against the Nigerian state. So people are cynical about, give us weapons. Maybe the right thing is come and help us. Send in the Marines, send in your people, use their drone and get these people and get them out. So that will be welcomed by Nigerians. This is the country now inviting a more strategic partnership with the Americans to say, two of us identify these guys as our enemy. We're not condoning, we're not supporting. So it's not a case of whether they are Islamists or whether they are Christian. We identify this group as a common enemy. And then we welcome joint operations, intelligence sharing. And then that will signal, because part of the problem will have been the weakness of the Nigerian state. I mean, when you are rehabilitating terrorists on a flimsy excuse that they are repentant, and some of them are going back doing more harm, and some of them are holding you to ransom with weaponry, coming to meetings and saying, sitting with you and saying, why would we went back that it didn't deliver on commitment, and you are taking pictures and you are begging the federal government to allow these people to set free. Then you can't convince the Americans that you're not condoning or part of that terror infrastructure. So I think Nigeria needs now clear communication to itself, to its citizens, that look, we really have no business whatsoever with these terrorists. We hate them as much as we hate them. We want to get them rid of them, no compromise. And then to the external stakeholders, the US, everybody, that look, clearly, our focus is clear on this matter, and we are willing to be supported, because it's not just about freeing the world of terrorists who are dangerous for everyone, but also helping Nigeria to rebound, because with these terrorists, our economic growth will be stagnated. We'll see farmers who can't go to the farm. We'll see displacement, IDP. So it's really beyond just appeasing America and the global war on terror. It's about saving ourselves and creating prospect of economic development for this country.
Dr. Sam Amadi, we'd like to appreciate you for your time and analysis as always, especially that point you raised about the efficiency or lack of it when it comes to the rehabilitation process. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday.